Well, welcome. Here we are now in the original part of the Vanderveer house. This section of the house was built by Jacobus Vanderveer in 1772. And we're lucky that it was lived in for all the years as a rental and a property by others, so it survived. But we have here the original floorboards. You can see they're very wide plank. They've been walked on a lot, but this is the original floor of this house. So it's very interesting that this is still here. And if we were to look up at the ceiling, those are the original beams that the house was built with. And the ceiling is actually the floor for the room up above. And this is all original to the Jacobus Vanderveer house. This particular room is set up as what we call the Vanderveer Parlor. And the reason we call it that is this is set up to respect the tradition of the Vanderveers, who were Dutch immigrants to the United States. We weren't the United States when they came to the colonies. So they came here and they built their home in the style of the way Dutch people who came from Holland would have done it. So in this room we have several interesting pieces of furniture that would have been from the time and also from the location here in this New Jersey, Pennsylvania area, not from other parts of the colonies. A beautiful writing desk that would have been typical of what the Vanderveers would have had because they were farmers. They had a 500-acre farm. They would have needed a place to do their various works. We also have in here various chairs and other tables from the similar time period. They were like William and Mary type or Queen Anne with the fashion of the furnishings. Along the back wall, the side wall actually, this was part of the original house, and some of it's original and some of it has been restored. We're fortunate that people left good wills and told us what was in their house, what was kept. There was a good accounting. So we know that this room had these two different cupboards, if you will. But this one to the right looks a little bit different than the other one to the left. And the reason is, the one to my left is actually the original one, a little bit rougher hewn. The one over here to the right had been taken down at one point when people were living here, and we've built it back in. The furnishings on there, the porcelains and the pewter, were typical of the type of dishware that they would have used in the era when the Vanderveers were here. The fireplace in this room is, again, it's been reconstructed because it had been taken out. But the way these blue Delft tiles are around the fireplace would be how the Dutch tradition would have been. They would have biblical drawings on them, so there were biblical representations that they would put on those tiles around their fireplace. And the Dutch would also tend to have these fireplaces more in the center of the room like this, instead of in a corner room, which, although some of the fireplaces in this house are not that way. One of the most fascinating things in this room, we'll see in just 1 minute, is actually an old-fashioned Murphy bed. And I'm going to just close this door so you can see this a little bit better. This bed here, we can see, and this is a reproduction, it's not one from that era, but it's made to look like it. And you can see that it folds up. When it comes down, the legs will come out and this will go down. So a person could sleep in this parlor on this bed, and during the day we could move it up. We would use this portion here. If you've heard the expression sleep tight, this don't let the bed bugs bite. This would be to tighten those strings here so that your bed would be more firm. Didn't have much of a mattress, but there was a little bit of a mattress would come with it. The other thing we have in here is, again, some examples of colonial clothes. But the setup of this room, when we venture on to our next stop, you'll see how very different. This is a more simplistic, more rustic, if you will, type of arrangement, which would have been how the Dutch would have been in this part of New Jersey in the era when the Vanderveers built this house. So I hope you'll stay with us as we go on to our next stop, and we'll see a very different appearance of a room, the room where the Knox family would have stayed.